You may find what I'm about to share surprising, but it's vital that you stay focused on the message ahead. This video is tailored exclusively for the redeemed ones, those chosen by God. If you're not among the redeemed, this message might not resonate with your spirit. However, if you are truly one of the chosen, you'll grasp everything I'm about to explain. And if you're uncertain where you belong, by the end of this video, you'll know your place. For many are called, but few are chosen. Matthew 22-14. Beloved, your presence here is no accident. You are not just another face in the crowd. You have been divinely appointed, with your name inscribed in the heavenly books. Reflect on this for a moment. The Creator of the heavens and the earth, the one who placed the stars in the sky and formed you from the dust, has personally called you. This phrase from the Bible holds significant meaning, resonating deeply within the spiritual journey of believers, challenging us to reflect on our faith and the paths we choose. But what does it mean that many are called and few are chosen? Why is it that only a few respond to this divine call? Today we'll delve into the deeper meaning of this phrase and its relevance for Christians today. In the New Testament, specifically in Matthew 22, Jesus speaks these words as part of the parable of the wedding feast. In this parable, a king prepares a wedding feast for his son and sends out invitations to many guests. However, those initially invited decline the offer, making various excuses. In response, the king extends the invitation to anyone his servants can find, both good and bad. The wedding hall fills with guests, but the king notices one who is not wearing appropriate wedding attire. When questioned, the guest has no answer and is cast out. This scenario is where Jesus utters the phrase, emphasizing the importance of being chosen, those who wear the true garment of faith and righteousness. The phrase, "many are called," reflects the universal invitation of the gospel message to all people. God's offer of salvation extends to everyone, demonstrating the inclusive nature of His love and grace. Yet not all who receive the call respond to it in faith. Few are chosen highlights the idea that while the invitation is open to all, only those who accept the call, embrace Christ, and live according to His teachings are truly chosen. These are the ones selected by their faith and obedience to God's will. The unprepared guest in the parable symbolizes those who may outwardly accept the invitation, but fail to live a life that aligns with God's standards. The wedding garment in the story represents the righteousness and holiness that should accompany genuine faith. This saying carries profound implications for Christians in the modern world. It serves as a call to action and a reminder of the responsibilities that come with faith. Firstly, it encourages believers to respond wholeheartedly to God's call of salvation. It is not enough to merely hear the gospel. One must actively accept it and live out their faith in a manner that reflects God's grace and righteousness. This means a life committed to following Christ's teachings and allowing His love to transform us from within. Living a transformed life is another crucial implication. Christians are called to put on the wedding garment of righteousness and holiness, symbolizing a life that mirrors the character of Christ. This transformation is not a superficial change, but a deep, inward renewal that affects every aspect of one's life. It challenges believers to examine their actions, thoughts, and attitudes, ensuring they align with the teachings of Jesus. Moreover, this saying underscores the need for discernment and accountability in our faith journey. As Christians, we must continually evaluate whether we are truly living out our faith or merely professing it. Self-examination and spiritual growth are essential practices, helping us stay on the path of righteousness and avoid the complacency that can come with familiarity. Understanding God's sovereignty is also a vital aspect of this teaching. The phrase reminds us that salvation is ultimately a gift from God, not something we can earn through our efforts alone. This understanding fosters humility and gratitude in our hearts, recognizing that our faith and salvation are acts of divine grace. Finally, the phrase "many are called" inspires a sense of urgency in sharing the gospel with others. Recognizing that God's invitation extends to all people compels Christians to actively participate in evangelism and outreach. By spreading the message of God's love and salvation, we help others to hear the call and, hopefully, to be among those who are chosen. Now let's talk about one of the greatest threats to our calling: distractions. Life has a way of overwhelming us. Work demands our attention. Family responsibilities consume our time. Financial pressures weigh us down. And in the midst of it all, our focus on God's calling begins to fade. Consider the parable of the sower in Matthew 13:22. The seed falling among the thorns refers to someone who hears the word, but the worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke the word, making it unfruitful. The word of God, the call of God, was planted in your heart like a seed, but the enemy of your soul is constantly working to choke that seed, preventing it from bearing fruit. The thorns in this parable represent the distractions and worries of this world. How often have you found yourself so consumed with the cares of life that you forgot about the calling God placed on your heart? Perhaps it was that new job that demanded all your energy, or the never-ending list of responsibilities that kept you running from morning to night. Little by little, the fire of your calling begins to dim. But remember, the distractions of this world are temporary. The worries that consume you today will not matter in eternity. What will matter is whether you fulfilled the purpose God had for your life. What will matter is whether you allowed the thorns of life to choke out your calling, or whether you rose above the distractions to pursue your divine appointment. Today, I challenge you to take inventory of your life. What distractions have been keeping you from fully stepping into your calling? Identify them, and then begin the process of removing them. It won't be easy. Distractions have a way of entangling us in their grasp, but with God's help, you can break free. Another critical reason why so many miss their divine appointment is temptation and spiritual laziness. The Bible is clear that temptation is a part of life. Even Jesus, our perfect example, was tempted in the wilderness by Satan himself. But the difference between those who are called and those who are chosen often lies in how we respond to temptation. In Matthew 4, we see Jesus being tempted after fasting for 40 days and nights. He was hungry, weak, and vulnerable, yet he did not give in. Why? Because he was armed with the word of God. When Satan tempted him to turn stones into bread, Jesus responded, "It is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." Matthew 4:4. Beloved, the enemy will come at you when you are at your weakest. He will offer you shortcuts, easy ways out, and temporary comforts that appeal to your flesh. But if you give in, you risk missing out on your divine appointment. You risk trading your eternal calling for a momentary pleasure. But temptation is not the only challenge we face. Spiritual laziness can be just as dangerous. It creeps in slowly, causing us to neglect our prayer life, skip time in the Word, and grow complacent in our faith. Before we know it, our spiritual senses have dulled, and we are no longer sensitive to the voice of God. And this is why Ephesians 6:10-11 urges us to be strong in the Lord and in His mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. When we are spiritually lazy, we leave ourselves vulnerable to the enemy's attacks. But when we are clothed in the armor of God, armed with His word, protected by His righteousness, and empowered by His Spirit, we can stand firm against any temptation that comes our way. Another significant reason why many miss out on their divine calling is fear and doubt, silent killers of our calling. They creep into our minds, whispering lies that make us question our worth, our abilities, and whether God could truly use someone like us. How many of you are struggling with fear right now? How many of you have doubted your worth, your abilities, or your purpose? If that's you, remember 2 Timothy 1:7, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." Fear is not from God. Doubt is not from God. These are weapons of the enemy designed to paralyze you and keep you from stepping into your calling. But you have been given a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. You have been equipped with everything you need to fulfill your divine appointment. This is the time to shake off fear, break free from distractions, and rise above temptation. The call has been made, the invitation extended. The question is, will you be among the few who are chosen? Will you wear the garment of righteousness and enter into the feast prepared by the King? This is your moment, your divine appointment. Seize it with both hands and step boldly into the purpose God has set before you. And as you do, I encourage you to stay connected with our channel. There's so much more we have to share, insights that will empower you, truths that will enlighten you, and encouragement to keep you on the path of righteousness. Subscribe, turn on your notifications, and join our community of believers dedicated to living out our calling with purpose and passion. Together, let's continue to walk